Greetings ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this patch video for Thief Lord from the website Royal Road. This patch video will contain chapters 7 and 8, and as always I hope that you enjoy, and if you do, please consider subscribing. Chapter 7, The Silver Saints. I quickly enter the tavern and return to the secluded table as far back. Joe gives me an angry scowl but says nothing. Given the room once over, Look determined that there is no players nearby. I finally activate the bread and butter ability of my class. Recruit Underling. A bright menu quickly fills my vision. You have entered a tavern located in Naval City. You will be able to recruit underlings to bolster your ranks. Please select one of the following underlings. Recruit a fighter-type underling, recruit a rogue-type underling, recruit a ranged-type underling, recruit an agent-type underling, recruit a specialist-type underling. Make your choice, Thief Lord. Now we're getting somewhere. The Thief Lord was a very versatile class, with far more underling development paths than the other minion-oriented classes offer. It's actually one of the game's gimmicks, unlike a necromancer who can spawn a wide variety of mindless undead to do his bidding. The Thief Lord functions a little differently. Since the Thief Lord's underlings have an advantage of being autonomous sentient beings and are specialized in hiding, they are limited by certain realistic restrictions and, believe it or not, benefits. Most criminals in medieval settings live their lives in one specific way, perfecting the only craft they know. This makes them especially good at their specializations, but there are certain paths not available to them. Due to criminals usually coming to the lower castes of society, they usually cannot afford to go down the route of magic. For an NPC, being educated in magic is an expensive affair, not readily accessible by the dregs of society. It's not too bad though. No one is more deadly than a thief who has lived his entire life by the blade. Since the Thief Lord excels at stealth and subterfuge, the game seems to add a certain kind of balance to the game, both enhancing and restricting the utility of their underlings. A Thief Lord and his underlings are considered city criminals, which means they excel within a densely packed city. It's technically the only life these types of criminals ever have known, according to the game's lore. This is all well and good, but we might find ourselves at a loss if we suddenly one day have to depart on a ship, or to raid merchant vessels, or forced into a forest to live in the wild while raiding trade caravans and small villages. The game pretty much limits the Thief Lord to stay within the confines of their designated environment specializations, but they are not completely restricted. A Thief Lord's underlings will gain 10% increase to their combat efficiency while inside the city or densely populated area, and likewise lose 10% efficiency if they are forced out of their preferred stomping grounds like the sea or out into the wilderness. I actually quite enjoy this sort of specialization, as I plan on focusing entirely on staying in the city for the foreseeable future anyways. A 10% boost to efficiency can be considered a godsend for someone in my situation. Regardless of the environmental restrictions, the underlings come in 5 different types of units, each with their own specializations and evolution path. Yep, you heard me, my minions can evolve. Or maybe it's more apt to say that they can be promoted into a higher ranked criminal. Whatever the case, my underlings have an exponential growth curve. The higher-tiered criminals are stronger than the predecessors, with better skill sets and abilities. A common street thug will never be able to stand up to an assassin after all, and you can't expect said thug to fight evenly with one of the Emperor's palace guards. Criminals need hierarchies just as the rest of us. The specialties are a bit different though. Unlike the 4 other types, they are the only underlings that can't evolve. That's because they are already just support staff. These units include special units like a fence, a poisoner, and an enchanter or a tinkerer. They may not be the most helpful units to have in a fight, but they offer several benefits to my other units, as well as a way for me to more efficiently generate more wealth. Anyway, I'm burning valuable time thinking about this stuff. Since I currently have 22 points in charisma, I am restricted to only recruit 1 underling per 5 charisma points. That means that I can currently recruit 4 minions. More will follow in time as I level up and get some better gear. I decide to recruit 1 fighter, 1 rogue, 1 ranged, and 1 agent. It's a nice start with some variation to test out the types work best for my setup. But each different type is important for my development path going forward. Confirming my choice, I sit patiently in my seat. I'm not quite sure what happens now, but I'm certain something will. My thoughts are interrupted as the tavern door swings open. 4 scruffy-looking men with mixed races enter. They are all rather poorly dressed, and 3 of them are armed. 1 wields a rusty dagger, 1 a spiked wooden club, and the last wears a makeshift linen modelier filled with several throwing knives. The bulkier of the men, the human, take a long look around the room and spots me sitting by myself in the corner. He gives me a brief nod before he heads to the other 3 and over and sits at my table. None of them say anything, but the lead bandit gives me a respectful nod, while the other 2 armed men scan the room for what I can only assume are threats. I focus my eyes on each of their name tags. Human Hoodlum 1, Handling T1 Fighter, HP 100 out of 100, Infamy Tier 1. Human Cutpurse 1, Handling T1 Rogue, HP 70 out of 70, Infamy Tier 1. Wood Elf Spotter 1, Handling Tier 1, Ranged, HP 50 out of 50, Infamy Tier 1. Dwarf Beggar 1, Handling Tier 1 Agent, HP 50 out of 50, Infamy Tier 0. Excellent. I rub my hands as I inspect the 4 more closely. The hoodlum is a bulkier of the 4, wielding a spiked wooden club. His skills are related to close-range fighting, as his type is supposed to be my frontline fighters. The Cutpurse has a leaner build, but he is in no way weak. Wielding a rusty dagger, he excels in sneaking around and striking at enemies from their blind spots. The Spotter sits straighter than the others, and he appears to be more vigilant. Being an elf, he is naturally taller than the 2 humans, and he has 2 long, pointy ears sticking out of either side of his ponytail. Wielding a set of throwing knives, the Spotter excels at supporting his companions from afar. The final underling is the frailest of them all, but barely any meat on his body. He gives off a pitiful impression. Even for a dwarf he is unarmed, but that doesn't matter as he isn't supposed to participate in combat. The beggar is an agent type, which means they excel in gathering information. Since the villains can't take on quests like normal players, each of the different villain classes have a unique way of acquiring quest-like things to do. As a necromancer, I gained quests by summoning restless spirits which guided me in the direction of locations like graveyards and tombs, where I could gather crafting regions, rare items, or raise corpses. The Thief Lord, on the other hand, relies on building an information-based network. The more agent-type units I have, the more sources of information I get to find lucrative places to steal from or assassination contracts from the less reputable sources. The agents work autonomously and will seek me out whenever they find any juicy intelligence in the area that they are working. The last piece of information on the character sheet is their infamy tier. There are 3 different tiers of infamy, which means that the sort of stance players and other NPCs will take against them. This is the mechanic that every NPC has, which is what allows for players to figure out which NPCs are okay to kill, and which of them they'd better leave alone. The infamy tiers are a bit misleading when it comes to my underlings, but it only speaks about how my underlings are perceived by others, like my beggar. Most NPCs have an infamy tier of 0. That means that they are considered as a low-threat individual with no nefarious purposes. Sure, the players could kill my beggar without suffering repercussions, but how would they differentiate my beggar from the 100 other non-underling beggars in the city? They can't. Not even with super high-level perception. The only way to spot a beggar working for a thief lord is to physically see them hand off information, which is unlikely to happen. That doesn't mean that it is impossible, though, as many players have a habit of trading suspicious-looking beggars. Infamy Tier 1 makes suspicious-looking characters. Regular NPCs won't attack them on sight, but most people will as they are fair game. Players suffer no repercussions killing units with an Infamy Tier 1 as they are technically still a mob. Luckily, every city has plenty of regular hoodlums and cutpurse NPCs, which means that if someone spots one of my underlings, they won't immediately know that a Thief Lord is loose. If it was true, it would make things a tad too difficult for me to effectively play this game. The last level, Infamy Tier 2, means that the mob should be killed on sight, be it by an NPC or a player. Almost every monster has this classification, and they are more than live up to their rank. Creatures with an Infamy tier are either incredibly hostile, which means that they will attack anything on sight, or are deemed incredibly dangerous by society and must be put down. The assassins I can evolve from my rogue-type underlings into, for example, are one of the latter cases. After thoroughly inspecting my underlings for a while, I quickly remember how bad it would look if a player just walked in. To avoid this scenario, I quickly order the beggar to head out into town and try and gather some information, while I order my 3 combat underlings to head out the back door to go hide in the sewer. I really want to follow them and start grinding some levels, but I need to make a few preparations first. First of all, it's time to assign my skill points. Reading through, comparing hundreds of different skill combinations were probably what ate up majority of the time that I spent researching my class. I have already made a rough decision on which skills to get and in which order, and I finally have enough information to commit to my choices. I have 3 skill points to assign, and I have already made a short list of what I should prioritize. First of all, I need to find a way to conceal myself while also finding a proper use for the 22 attribute points I have in intelligence. I already decided to go down the illusion route, but there is a slight problem with this path. It really eats into my skill points. Not only do I have to use skill points just to unlock the illusion school of magic, but I also have to spend a skill point for every spell that I want to learn. It isn't really unreasonable, but when I only have 3 skill points and will gain 1 per level from here on out, I need to sacrifice a lot of utility early. The Thief Lord has a lot of exciting and powerful class skills, which I'm really looking forward to biting into. It took a lot of time for me to swallow the sour apple, but I eventually managed to convince myself of a short detour. Conceding myself will have to take priority number 1. I bite my lips together as I open up the skill menu and scroll down until I find what I'm looking for. You have unlocked the Lesser Magic School of Illusion. It takes a special kind of mage to see past the flashier sides of magic and choose the more subtle path. It is not unwise, however. Altering someone's perception can sometimes be more formidable than striking them down with fire and ice. The Illusion School has 2 diverging branches, Mind and Vision. Spells available. Charm. Illusion Mind Spell tricks target NPC into trusting you completely, momentarily turning him into your lackey. Chance of success 0.5 intelligence plus 2 times skill level, minus target's perception. Duration 0.5 intelligence plus 0.2 times skill level seconds. Cost, mana 100, minus 0.5 multiplied by skill level. Frenzy, Illusion Mind Spell empowered the natural anger of target NPC. Increases the infamy tier of all nearby creatures by 2. Chance of success, intelligence plus 2 multiplied by skill level minus target perception. Duration, 0.5 intelligence plus 0.2 multiplied by skill level seconds. Cost, 100 mana minus 0.5 multiplied by skill level. Calm. Illusion Mind Spell soothes target NPC's mind, decreases the infamy tier of all friendly targets by 1. Chance of success, intelligence plus 2 multiplied by skill level minus target perception. Duration, 0.5 intelligence plus 0.2 multiplied by skill level seconds. Cost, 100 mana minus 0.5 multiplied by skill level. Chameleon. Illusion Vision Spell. Cloaks your body in a static illusion, greatly reducing visibility when immobile. Effectiveness, 1.5 intelligence plus 2 times skill level minus enemy's perception. Cost 100 mana minus 0.5 multiplied by skill level. I grin wildly as I read through the spell list available to me. These spells are perfect for my class. I waste no time in acquiring the Chameleon spell as it is an insanely powerful tool for hiding. It scales great with my intelligence stat, and when I reach skill 100 with it, I'll be practically invisible to even the players who would heavily invest in perception-based builds. The other 3 skills are a bit less flashy, as they will all revolve around alerting people's state of mind. This is the main reason most people don't bother investing in the illusion school, as the majority of spells are only effective on NPCs. Sure, the skills are powerful, but the inability to alter players' minds to act different ways just doesn't make it appealing. Well, it would be awesome if it was possible to alter a player's perception of things. It would only really be freaking illegal. Real-world illegal. So, instead of walking into a hornet's nest of potential abuse, the developers amped up the power of the spells and turned them onto the NPC-only spells. That didn't really make any more appealing to the players, though, as mages are already hard-pressed on spending their precious skill points on other, more vital spells. Luckily, I'm not really a mage, but a support kind of player with a lot of underlings who could benefit from these kinds of spells, and on a whole different level than a regular players. That's why the addition of Chameleon spell, I also pick up Calm, as the spell will be invaluable to my minions needing to lose heat if something goes wrong while performing a heist. It's the perfect crime tool. The best part of my 2 choices is spells that they are both from different branches of the illusion school. This will open up more development options later on. Similar to most things in the game, the magic system is also tiered, meaning that to unlock a higher tiered spells, I need to level up a spell from the lower tier, a spell from within the same branch of magic, and at least to level 20. Since my entire character build hinges on illusion spells, it is beneficial for me to keep as many of the options open as possible. Sooner or later, I will require higher tiered spells from both branches of illusion school. It is better to start sooner rather than later. With all 3 of my skill points spent, I started to feel sufficiently ready to tear some crap up. I feel the sort of naked without a single offensive ability or weapons at hand, but it should be fine as I have a trio of combat-capable underlings to do the heavy lifting for me. I briefly consider heading out to the marketplace to outfit myself in some decent gear, and maybe a weapon or 2, but I figure that I would just be a waste of money. The first 5 levels are really easy to gain, so buying gear that fits level 1 characters is just a waste of money. As I am preparing to head out of the back, I crack my knuckles. Time to tear some crap up. I grin as I take my first step. Where do you think you're going, Thief Lord? Joe the barkeep grunts. Freezing, I slowly turn around, finding myself 40 centimeters away from the grumpy old man. Oh, freck. I'm just, I stammer, feeling my stomach drop. My heart's racing, and I look at the ice-cold stare at a high-level NPC in front of me. You just what, exactly? He growls. My eyes widen as I feel panic build. What do I do here? Try and fight him? Ridiculous. He is a much higher level than me, and I neither have a weapon nor do I have combat-related skills. I take a step back as my head darts to the side, trying desperately to find a path to escape. An arm reaches out and grabs my arm tightly, securing me in place. It's been a long time since I met a thief lord who seems to know what he's doing, he mutters, his eyes appraising my body. What? I ask, my eyes widen in confusion. You heard what I said, boy. If you didn't, then that's your problem, not mine, he growls, his eyes hardening as his glares intensifies. I liked how you handled those 2 annoying adventurers earlier. Not many thief lords can keep their cool like that. You even managed to convince them to actually give you money. Almost made me want to smack them across the head at their stupidity. He snorts, clearly amused. What the hell is up with this guy? I scream in my mind. He's freaking with me. He's stalling for the garrison to arrive. Stop looking like a dwarf half-wit, he snaps at me, and I immediately close my mouth, which I didn't even know was hanging open. He sighs. Figures, I may have overestimated you, he shakes his head, but there might be hope for you yet. What do you mean? I finally managed to splutter out some words. Joe bursts into a toothy grin. A really, really scary and creepy-looking grin. I notice a shiny silver tooth reflecting the dim light of the room. Well, I'll be your benefactor, of course, he says while flipping a small piece of metal at me. Surprised by the sudden movement, I react slowly and fumble while trying to catch the object. I manage to grab it before it hits the ground, but it didn't look very graceful. Raising the object in front of my eyes, I notice it's a silver coin. Not just a regular silver coin, though. It is easily twice the size of a regular coin. Instead of a normal imprint of the Emperor's face, the coin has a set of twin daggers crossed beneath a skull imprinted across a smooth surface. I try and inspect its properties. Ominous silver token, class unique, soulbound. What is this? I mutter in disbelief. That boy is a thief's token. If you show that to anyone connected to the criminal underworld, they will know that they could trust you. Well, at least enough to do business with you. Don't throw it away, as it is enchanted to disintegrate if it ever leaves your possession. Look for any merchant or tavern keeper with a silver tooth, and you know that they're one of us. But what? You figure it out for yourself. I expect great things from you, boy. Don't disappoint me. He growls while starting to shoo me out of the back door. Befuddled, I stopped walking and throwing back a glance backwards at the now scowling barkeep. I soon find myself outside the small, dark alley. I turn around and look at Joe's departing back as he heads back into the tavern. He turns to shut the door, but not before he gives me one final glare. Tch! He spits to the ground. I can't believe they fricking made me say this. He clears his throat. The Silver Saints appreciate your continued support. Fail us and suffer the consequences. Then he slams the door in my face. Thanks? End of chapter. Chapter 8. Pug. Well, I guess I found the secret quest Anna was looking for, I muttered, still dazed from the unexpected encounter. What the frick? I'm inclined to head back inside to try and haul out a few answers out of the old man, until I realize that I have very little to actually threaten him with. Not to mention this, Silver Saints thing that he is a part of might not be the best kind of people to make angry. It's weird, though. I haven't read anything about an underground NPC network for any forums yet. Is this a unique event? Probably not. If the game had a secret NPC factions, then I doubt that they only added a single faction in a single town in the middle of nowhere. For all I know, this might be nothing, or it could be something. If this is something, though, then I can only assume that there is a certain set of conditions that you have to meet to be able to get a foot in the door. Hell, I might not even be the first person to even discover these organizations, and the others kept it a secret for as long as possible to try and get an edge over everyone else. Just like the Dark Pegasus girl did with the sewers. I know I would do that thing if the opportunity arose. Speaking of which, I should probably start doing something. I look around and quickly locate the rusty metal lid neatly hidden between some crates in the shadows of the tavern. Opening the hatch, I stare into the dark hole in the ground. A small breeze of moist air washes over my face and nose, and it wrinkles due to the abhorrent stench. Of course, it has to smell. I mutter as I start descending into the dirty ladder. Reaching the bottom, I find myself in a small sewer tunnel stretching beneath the streets above. My 3 underlings wait idly nearby, throwing me eager looks as they fiddle with their weapons. I don't know where it comes from, but there seems to be a subtle light radiating from some unknown place, illuminating the tunnel at strategic intervals. Not enough to see clearly, but enough for us to be able to navigate without using spells or torches. You gotta love gaming logic, am I right? Well, don't look at me, guys. Let's get a move on. I shrug as a mute henchman turn around and start walking slowly down the tunnel. My underlings are all seeded with special kinds of artificial intelligence where they don't really have a free will, or any sort of personality at all, to be honest. It makes them more efficient tools to use, but it also feels a little odd to order them around like a cat following a laser pen. There are some theories at the internet that the underlings all act as though they're lobotomized so that the thief lord who grows attached to their personalities won't suffer any unnecessary traumas after sending them into certain death. Which they will. A lot. It feels a bit unnecessary to me, but I can't argue with the results. They feel and act incredibly loyal. The tunnel we are moving down is wide enough for 3 people to walk side by side, while still having room to spare. There is a small stream of raw sewage running in the middle of the corridor though, so I don't envy the guy who has to walk in the middle. My underlings take up a formation where the hoodlum walks directly in front of me and on the left side of the tunnel, while the cutpurse is trailed by the spotter on the other side. We walk at a slow pace and I'm uncertain as to how dangerous these rats are. They're probably incredibly weak, but I'd rather not have all my underlings afflicted by some nasty diseases that I will have to cure with expensive potions later. I may have some money now, but I've never been a fan of frivolous spending. We only walk for about 20 seconds until some high-pitched chittering noises echo down the tunnel. Slowing our pace, I have my minions prepare a defensive stance. It only takes us a few more steps to come into contact with creatures that we've been looking for. Sewer Rat 1, HP unknown out of unknown. Sewer Rat 2, HP unknown out of unknown. The name tags flashing in a bright red, signaling that the rats will attack us on sight. The name tags aren't all that detailed as my underlings, but that's most likely because my perception attribute sucks. The rats are much larger than ordinary rats, where the smaller one's body is roughly 30 centimeters long, excluding its tail. Their fur are matted grey with several dirt stains covering their bodies. Their beady red eyes lock onto us, showing the unbound hatred contained within. Kill the weaker one first, I order my underlings as they charge the 2 rats. My hoodlum is the first to reach them, swinging his club wide and misses. The club goes right over the level 1 rat's head and smashes into the wall, causing a few splinters to fly off the club. The rat responds in kind, jumping at my hoodlum to sink its jagged teeth into its thigh. My spotter is throwing his knives with reckless abandon as he struggles to keep the larger of the rats at bay. He doesn't hit it, but his randomly flying knives keep the rat away as it struggles to dodge the flying projectiles. Meanwhile, my cutpurse slides up behind the weaker rat and starts slicing at its exposed backside. The weaker rat squeals in pain as the rusty dagger connects, taking several points of health from its pool. While it's distracted, the hoodlum grabs it violently and yanks it off its leg, putting the rat on the ground. My 2 meaty underlings work together and quickly finish it off. In the meanwhile, the spotter is quickly running out of knives. The larger rat took a glancing blow from one of the knives and is missing the tip of its tail. It doesn't matter though, as my other 2 underlings quickly surround and start battering the large rat to a pulp. It takes half a minute, but my first fight ends quickly and efficiently, albeit a bit messy, much like my first night with my ex-girlfriend. You have slain a sewer rat 1, gain 5 experience. You have slain a sewer rat 2, gain 8 experience. The double notification signaled the end of the fight. I'm a little surprised at how effectively my underlings worked together. It wasn't at all how my skeletons worked, as none of those brainless piles of bones would ever strategically position themselves to surround an enemy, or even physically restrain their movements while mercilessly murdering them. What my underlings did just felt much smarter, but also much more gruesome than I expected. Now I know why my underlings are so much more expensive to recruit than the mindless undead though. I certainly got a good bang for my buck. More importantly though, I gained 13 experience points. That's more than 1/10 of what I need to level up. And I was right. Leveling down here is more way efficient of social quests outside. It would probably take me 15 minutes of lifting crates to even get 10 experience points. That is, if I could even pick up a social quest to begin with. These sewers hold great value for someone trying to speed up their leveling. I wonder if there are more of these secret areas in different parts of the town, maybe even higher level ones. It certainly makes locating these places a much higher priority. Who knows what kind of treasures I might find. That's a problem for later though. I still have a sewer to explore. Our little group of lightly armed homeless people makes good headway exploring the vast sewer network located beneath the Noob district. There is a bunch of twists and turns, but I'm starting to get an understanding of the general layout of the area. The sewer system has a central room that functions as a hub for all the connecting tunnels. The tunnels expand like a web away from the central chamber, and it's very easy to navigate as the tunnels always tilt slightly downwards towards the central hub. Finding my way around is no longer an issue, but I find it increasingly difficult to find another exit. That's a problem for later though. During my exploration, we managed to slay dozens more rats, earning me another 72 experience points. I'm getting closer to level 2 by the minute, and I have even cleared out a faction of tunnels that I've found so far. Grinding rats will have to take a backseat for now though, as I need to try and figure out if there's a way out of this place, preferably outside of the noob zone. Sewers usually end up in the ocean, don't they? My best bet is to try and find a tunnel that slopes down further into the central chamber, and I think I know the location of such an exit may exist. My ragtag band of misfits has seen better days. The hoodlum and cutpurse are both littered by tiny bite marks, and the spotter is drenched by sewage water after he tripped into the deep cesspool in the center chamber. They are all still kicking though, and their health points are steadily regenerating every minute. I even started practicing my chameleon and calm spells, as I figured I had a lot of mana and nothing better to do with it. It's a bit disappointing that it will take long time to gain skill levels with spells, especially spells of higher tier since I can't unlock them early. The magic system is rather unique in that regard, since it's the only type of skill that requires unlocks. It's kind of oblivious why though. Spells are flashy skills where the power is very objectively quantifiable. Normal skills are more subtle in their use and more naturally evolve from the low-level skill into something more powerful later on. I'm not sure why the game developers wanted it to be this way, but I can understand how they wouldn't want level 1 players to throw around meteor showers right off the bat. I don't see it too much of a problem that it takes more effort for mages to level the skills though. It's sort of fair in some sense. In the grand scheme of things, since mages rely completely on using spells in every single scenario, while physically oriented players often have to improvise, mages have a natural advantage when it comes to steady grind skills levels, since they are more dependent on using their magic for every little thing they do. It may take some time, but luckily I don't have anything else to do but start my spell grind. After a few moments of looking into a few oddly placed tunnels and killing another level 1 rat, we finally found our way of what we were looking for. There's a tunnel entrance that looks slightly out of place compared to the rest of the network, and there's a pair of particularly nasty level 3 rats loitering around the entrance. The level 3 rats are slightly different from their smaller cousins, as they are only ones with critters that have skills. The little buggers have some sort of leaping ability, making them able to easily jump 2 meters from a still position. My spotter had a bad time the first time I encountered them. The little bastards aren't the only ones with abilities though. I didn't really check my underling skills earlier, but they have all had a couple of class-related skills. I noticed it in the first battle when my hoodlum grabbed a rat and pinned it to the ground and had it stabbed to death. That was actually a skill called grapple, which pretty much does what it says it does. It allows him to tackle and grab a weaker or smaller enemy, immobilizing it for a short moment. It's not the most graceful of skills, but it certainly is effective in killing rats. Another useful skill, which both my hoodlum and cutpurse share, is the evasion skill. It's the same one as players have, and it works brilliantly. Since the game has no feasible way to increase someone's physical reaction time or make them better at evading swords or arrows, the game adds a cool little feature. Instead of doing fancy acrobatics, the game sort of tugs the enemy weapon to veer off course. Sort of like the effect when 2 repelling magnets are being forcefully connected. They just don't want to connect without the appropriate amount of force being applied. And even then, they just don't want to stay together. My underlings have a few other fancy abilities which are pretty standard, like the cutpurse's stealth and the backstab skill. The hoodlum has power strike and the spotter's crippling shot skill. There's a final intriguing skill though. The spotter has mock target skill, which basically allows him to feed information to the rest of us. When he activates it, it allows the rest of us to see the enemy he sees, even if they're outside of our field of view. It's pretty neat. It highlights the enemies with a bright red outlining, which only disappears if my spotter loses sight of the target. My underlings have fallen into a common routine. My hoodlum charges in and immediately grapples the first rat, pinning it to the ground, and then he proceeds to mercilessly beat it to a pulp. Gloating over how efficient the grapple skill is, I almost miss how my cutpurse fluently evades the other rat's leaping skill, causing it to smash headfirst into the wall. Momentarily stunned, the spotter quickly places 2 throwing daggers into its body while the cutpurse rushes in for the kill. When the last of the rats stops twitching, I'm greeted with a long-awaited system window. Congratulations! You have reached level 2. You have gained 3 free attribute points and 1 skill point. Finally, I grin as I quickly dump my 3 attribute points into luck, watching my dexterity attribute rise with it. I don't really have any immediate need for either luck or dexterity at this point, but I figure I might as well prepare for the future. Those points are going to come in handy rather soon. The same thing applies to my skill points. I already have a skill in mind, but I still open up this list of class-specific skills. Available seafloor skills. Fight Dirty. Gain attack damage equal to luck plus 0.5 multiplied by skill level for 1 minute plus 1 second per skill level. Cooldown 20 minutes minus 5 seconds per skill level. Fight Smart. Increases invasion by 0.2 luck plus 0.2 multiplied by skill level for 1 minute plus 1 second per skill level. Cooldown 20 minutes minus 5 seconds per skill level. Cheap Shot. Gives underlings a damage bonus for the first attack in a fight equal to the luck plus skill level for 5 minutes plus 5 seconds per skill level or until the first attack has been made. Cooldown 20 minutes minus 5 seconds per skill level. Gang Up. Gain increased damage when fighting 3-1 by 0.5 luck plus 0.5 multiplied by skill level. Bail. All troops escape and evade. Evasion increases by skill level percentage. Movement speed and moving away from enemies increases by 2 times skill level %. Duration 30 seconds plus 0.5 seconds per skill level. Cooldown 60 minutes minus 15 seconds per skill level. Mentor. Increases underlings' experience gains by 5 multiplied by skill level %. Doppelganger. Instantaneously switch position with an underling. Range 1 meter plus 0.2 multiplied by skill level. Cooldown 20 minutes minus 5 seconds per skill level. Rush. Increases movement speed by 0.2 luck plus 0.2 multiplied by skill level % for 30 seconds plus 0.5 seconds per skill level. Cooldown 20 minutes minus 5 seconds per skill level. Disarm. Makes underling disarm an opponent. Chances of success 0.5 luck plus 0.2 multiplied by skill level per underling. Stackable per underling. Cooldown 5 minutes minus 5 seconds per skill level. Bountiful. Increases yield of successful jobs by 0.5 luck plus 0.5 multiplied by skill level %. Insight Crowd. Causes nearby NPCs to actively distract and obstruct enemies for 0.1 charisma seconds, plus 0.1 seconds per skill level. Cooldown 60 minutes minus 15 seconds per skill level. Cheat Death. Upon taking fatal damage, clear all status effects and turn invulnerable for 0.1 seconds per 0.5 luck, and instantly heal for luck, plus 5 and multiply by skill level. Cooldown 24 hours minus 5 minutes per skill level. There are so many options, so many sweet, sweet options. This is what I love about the game. Every skill available for purchase at the start, and I get to choose which skills to focus on, thus being able to tailor my skill to set my preferred playstyle. Granted, I eventually want to have every single one of these skills. I really need to prioritize a select few to focus on for a while. The skill I decide to go for this time, though, is probably the least flashy, but also the one that gives me the most amount of long-term value. Therefore, I select and purchase the Mentor skill. It almost feels like a sin, but I already know how reliant I am on my underlings. Having them level up as fast as possible is vital for my late-game success. The skill allows my underlings to gain 5% extra experience per skill level that I have in it. At skill level 100, my underlings will gain experience 500% faster. While the underlings can never have a higher level than me, it's still perfect for leveling up minions at later stages of the game when they might die or I need to recruit fresh ones. It's a skill I can't ignore if I am to ever have a realistic goal of becoming the best at the game and make it stay that way. Closing my status, I look upon the tunnel entrance the rats were guarding. It's slightly wider tunnel than the others and it's sloping downwards while still connecting to the central chamber. I'm fairly certain 4 grown men could walk beside each other, but there is also a much wider stream of sewage water running down the middle, which makes it more difficult for people walking on either side of the stream to assist one another. My anticipation level rises as I can figuratively smell the exit at the end of the path. We keep heading down the path for a while. The path takes a few twists and turns, but it still heads deeper into the ground with no branching tunnels connecting to it. There are no rats down here though, which makes me feel extremely suspicious that something weird is going on. No monster-infested tunnels have ever, in the history of video games, become easier the deeper you go. It just doesn't happen, which makes me suspect that I will eventually fight some giant mutated level 10 rat, or something that shoots bolts of acids from its tail. Which would suck. The tunnel keeps stretching on, and I guess it must be getting close to the ocean. I can actually hear the sounds of waves crashing against the rocks from where I am, but the exit still eludes me. After walking through to another turn in the tunnel, we suddenly find ourselves in a large room, nearly half the size of a huge center chamber upstairs. The room is filled with rotten barrels and other pieces of wooden equipment, but I pay them no mind. At the opposite side of the room, I can spot a streak of light hitting the side of the tunnel. An exit! I hurry across the room, my eyes locked onto the small glint of light across the room. I can't believe it. It was this easy. I chuckle. The room is filled with broken crates, trash and filthy pieces of fabric strewed about. In my hurry, I jump over a half-broken crate on the floor and elegantly land on top of a moth-ridden sack of fabric on the other side. The coarse grunt echoes around the room as combat notification flashes in the corner of my eyes. You have dealt 1 blunt damage to an unknown enemy. What the frick? I yelp in surprise while turning around, scanning the room from where the noise had come from. My eyes find nothing, staring into the dimly lit room. It's only too late that I sense movement from below. Pug! Something screams as the force slams into my belly, causing me to stumble backwards, falling over the crashing, rotten barrel beneath my weight. Panicking slightly, I roll over and look towards the area that I was occupying just seconds before. The moth-ridden sack I landed on earlier is somehow much larger. It has sprouted 2 arms and 2 legs, and what appears to be a head covered in nothing but dirty hair. I squint as the name tag appears. Human, Elite Brawler, Pug the Pugilist, Level 3, HP unknown. Oh crap. End of chapter. And that, my friends, concludes this match video. If you enjoy the story, please don't forget to go and show the author some support. And if you wish to support this channel, there are links down below. The easiest way to support this channel would be to subscribe and share as much as possible to help this channel grow. And I'll see you all in the next video, and until then I hope you all keep well and safe. Cheers.